If you could bottle up nostalgia and then distill it down into its most potent form, it would sound a little something like this. Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, EQOAnostalgia here, and today I want to talk to you guys about Phantasy Star Online in 2025, and it's weird because I think it's the 25th anniversary this year of the game. Time really it gets away from you. I remember the first time I saw somebody playing this, he was playing it on a Dreamcast. I didn't get into it until the original Xbox, and I still actually have my copy here. It's seen better days. But I still have it. I wish I would have kept my Xbox because one of the cool things about Phantasy Star Online is that it went offline as well. I can't say the same for the game that this channel is modeled after, EverQuest Online Adventures. Once they pulled the plug on that, that was it. It was gone. And we lost so many things. I mean, I met my wife in that game 22 years ago now, and we had sent each other letters, and we had an in-game wedding with rings and cake and everything. I wish we still had that stuff. So now that the server is back up in a private server, we could bring it back. So that's one of the things right out of the gate that makes Phantasy Star Online really special and impressive in my opinion. It was a little bit ahead of its time, but I can kind of see why they didn't do that going forward with MMOs, because there was definitely a potential for people to exploit offline. And I remember when I left the game, I had a whole bunch of hacked mags and stuff because I got into it only like 3 months before it shut down. So I didn't get a lot of time to play it online. But it's an absolute classic. I'm glad that there's private servers for it. If you're a newcomer to the game, I'm going to be dropping some information in here that should help you to get started on the server. But I'm going to assume that for the most part, people have already played the game. It's been out for a long time. I think that it stands the test of time very well. Some people might not like the way that the combat works and that you have to time your 3 strikes. You can't just mash the button. But I always like that. I love ARPGs, stuff like, Champions of Norath, Diablo, etc. But I like the fact that they paced it out a little bit more, and it just felt, I don't know, like you had to actually focus a little bit when you attack stuff. The camera in the game didn't really age too well. You can't just use the right stick to turn or anything like that, so you'll be constantly like tapping, I think it's right one, to face different directions. But it's just an awesome game, and if you haven't checked it out, I really recommend you do it. It's pretty easy to get set up. It only takes a few minutes. You just sign up for the client, download it, and basically you're off the ground running. There is one thing I want to mention real quick though, because a lot of us are going to have a crash as soon as somebody fires a pistol or a rifle. Now, just real quick, if you're somebody who's new to the server, you might not know this. You're going to want to go into System, over here to Advanced Settings, and in the Performance section here under Settings, go to Data Execution Prevention, and check this top option right here. Otherwise, when you fire your gun as a ranger or somebody else does, the particles are going to cause the game to crash. So yeah, that's all you really need to know to get running. I don't think it's too difficult. Anybody can really do that. It's not a hassle. Like some of these private servers hooking up can be a bit of a pain in the butt. Like EQOA, for example, was a bit of a pain. Even Resident Evil Outbreak, getting that back up, I had to tweak some things, and it's just a little bit more advanced than just downloading a client and changing one setting real quick. But hopefully this helps you guys get into the game, and I really do hope you'll check it out. Now, I never played Phantasy Star, any of the games before. I mean, kind of in passing, when my friends would be playing it, I'd play a little bit of it, but I didn't really get into those, and I heard they were awesome. I was personally, at that time, I was into Final Fantasy. For whatever reason, I never gave Phantasy Star a shake. I know a lot of people want to see that make a comeback and not just be an online game, but actually be a single-player JRPG sort of game. So I think it'd be cool if they did something like that. But one of the things that stood out to me about this game was the aesthetics kind of had more of an arcade look to them. I always like the way the characters look, and you can see all these different characters you can choose from here. You've got your 3 different types, and then there's these different subtypes within each one of those. And it's just cool. It's a nice way to customize. It's more simplified than maybe something more advanced today, but it's still deep enough where you're going to be able to sink your teeth into it. That's one of the things that I keep repeating about this game and EverQuest Online Adventures, is that they have a lot going on, but they're not overly complicated. You feel like you can invest into a character and have a unique identity that not everybody else has, but at the same time, it's not too insane. You know what I mean? You're not like, it's not some brain buster, like, say, Path of Exile, for example, which I never really got into that. It looks like an awesome game, but looking at all the different branching trees and all the abilities you can choose just makes my head spin. I like things to be a little bit more simplistic. I want to get into the action quickly, but I also like to be able to customize a little bit. And in case you guys didn't notice, the soundtrack to this is an absolute vibe. I've been listening to it for 20 plus years. I add it to playlists. I'm one of those people who I'll put my favorite video game music into a playlist and just grind in a random MMO while it plays in the background. But Sega's been known for having really good soundtracks over the years. I mean, there's so many different games that I grew up playing on my Genesis that I can think of that are absolutely amazing. One of the more interesting aspects of PSO, and one of the more unique ones, is that you get a section ID when you create your character, and it's based off of the type of character you create. So you can see here it's going to assign it depending on what type of character you're playing. And that's you know, it's pretty important. I didn't realize this back in the day. I only just got back into this. So I'm kind of learning just how important all of this was. I might have known but forgot. You know how that goes. But your drops are dependent upon which ID you have. Now, if you have a friend and they have a different ID, I believe if they start the game and you join their game, it'll go off of what their ID is. So you're not like pigeonholed into one. But I will say this, it's really cool that you can change that. You're going to want to do it before level 20. And I think this is a feature only on this server. I might be mistaken, but if you use this command in the chat, you can change it. And I did that with my ranger. I went to Purple Gnome because I want to get the drops for him here. It's just, you know, it's going to be a lot better for my particular setup. So that's interesting. Maybe you guys can let me know in the comments if another game has done anything like this. I don't think that they have, and it's pretty cool. One of my favorite features from PSO is the mag system. Now, if you grew up in the 90s, you're going to remember the Tamagotchi pet. This is, I think everybody's like kid sister had one of these. I remember my nieces all had one. I remember my sister going crazy trying to keep the things alive because, you know, they'd cry if they died and they didn't know what they were doing or whatever. They'd go to school and have to leave them. But it's just like the Digimon / Pokemon craze, right? You get this little mag and you have to feed it and raise it, and it gets different stats, and then it evolves into different stuff. And there's a ton of different mags that you can choose from. It gets these abilities called photon blasts, and some of them would get like triggers, and there would be different events that would cause them to trigger. Like say your health got too low, they would cast a Resta on you. It shows you like all the specifics right here if you want to stop and read all that. But if you go down and take a look at all of this, this is some deep stuff, man. And it's a really cool way to add extra customization for your character. And it starts off, it looks pretty tame here, but then it starts to really branch out and you start seeing a ton of different types, different colors. There's all these different stages of the evolution. I remember having the Angel's Wing, and it just unlocked a memory in my mind. My Force character, her name was Angel, and I remember the whole thing that I was doing with her was trying to get stuff that looked angelic to make her look cool. I really wish I had my old save data. It's gone forever. You could even get like a mini Dreamcast. It was really cool. So this is one of those things that Phantasy Star Universe, I wasn't as pleased with it because it had the partner machines, and those were kind of like these mini robots that would follow you around. They evolved and everything, but there was something about these little mags that, I don't know, man, it's one of the shining examples of why I really love PSO. And I'm looking forward to learning more about this stuff because I didn't get to dive into it too deeply. I had a lot of help, and like I said, I had hacked items that people were just throwing at me as a newbie. They're like, hey, here's all this stuff. Next thing I know, I go from struggling to solo to just crushing everything. I don't recommend you do that, by the way. It's probably not a good idea. Oh, I remember this one right here. Yep, see how it's got that halo around its head? I had this one, and I had the angel wings. But yeah, see all the different stuff that you can feed them? Really awesome system. There's a good look. A good picture of it, actually. But I miss this stuff. And it's just part of what gives the game its charm, man. You really should check it out. If you never played PSO before, hop in there. If you haven't played it in years, it's a good time to start playing it again. And I just want to talk about consoles, because I'm pretty sure all the consoles that ran this game, Dreamcast, GameCube, and Xbox, the original Xbox, are back online now. I'm pretty sure they can't connect to this server though, so they're going to have their own server, and from what I heard, the population's not that great, but it's still possible. And the cool thing about the console is you can have like couch co-op. So if you have any buddies that wanted to come over, I mean, those were the days, man. There's just something about this game. It unlocks those classic nostalgic feels in basically every way. Couch co-op is one of the things growing up back then that, I remember the fondest, hanging out with my friends. Of course, everybody grows up and they go off. We all start our own lives and everything. So it's just really cool to think back on those days. But you can still do that now. If you've got buddies that want to come over, you can have like almost like a LAN session, right? Without the LAN, you can just sit there and play split screen. I'm pretty sure up to 4 players. Now, I don't know about you guys, but back in the day, I had like a 20-inch CRT. There's no way I was going to be playing any 4-player split screen anything. But today, people have massive TVs, so it's not really a big deal. And the game's pretty cheap. I'm surprised. It's not one of those like $400 games that you can get it for like $10, 86 cents on for Xbox. $199 for the Dreamcast. You'd have to get the hardware, obviously. But some people like to go that route. I do myself. I've got a lot of physical media. I've got a CRT in here, and I like to hook it up and play stuff like this. Now, it should be noted, this is only episode 1 and 2 on the consoles. Blue Burst was just for the PC, so and that was the most up-to-date. It's got episodes 1, 2, and 4. And the reason it doesn't have 3 is, 3 was basically a card game that didn't do very well, so nobody really cares about it that much. I'd like to check it out, actually. I never played it, but I didn't hear very good things about it. But yeah, you've got options. In closing, I want to mention the portable games, because I don't think they get enough love. And, that's because they're stuck on old portable consoles. You can emulate them, though. And Phantasy Star Portable 2 Infinity, that was only available in Japan, but it's been localized by fans for us, so that's pretty cool. And I definitely recommend you play that because it's probably the best of both worlds from PSO and PSU. It's got the most amount of content. There's just a lot of story there, and I've been having a blast with it. I'd have to say it's probably my favorite way to play the game. I think you can get online with it. I'm not too positive, but it's going to be a little bit more tricky than getting online with this, that's for sure. I haven't bothered to try setting that up yet because, well, I've been having fun with other games. You know, PSU, PSO, EQOA. Eventually, I'd like to see if I can get that done. If you know, let me know down in the comments if that's actually an option. Because it's really fun, man. And there's, like I said, it's got everything just kind of rolled up into one package. It's got a ton of weapons. Definitely recommend it. But at this point, I want to turn it over to you guys. I want to hear from you down in the comment section below. Now, I did review Phantasy Star Universe Clementine, so check out that video if you haven't. Be sure to hit the like button, subscribe if you're new. Get down in the comments. It really helps with the algorithm. God bless. And I look forward to seeing you all in the next video.
Nostalgia. It's delicate, but potent.